What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 30 Minutes of Hell. I am your host, Brandon Baker, joined by Joey Jackson and Matt Jackson, and we've got some exciting Arkansas basketball to talk about this week. Two big wins,
Ooh. Oh, I lost my voice from that Missouri game. Ooh.
Big
Big
Suey.
Suey.
two
Every
big
time.
rivals, taking down Missouri and Texas in the same week. Always a good week. But with the tournament hopes hanging on like by a thread like they are to beat a top 15 team and then beat a team that is right next to you on the bubble, Arkansas did exactly what they needed to do this week. But the most impressive part is how they did it with, basically seven players available. And we're going to get into all of that. I'm so impressed with how the Hogs are playing lately. But very excited with where they sit now in terms of their tournament hopes. They've put themselves firmly in the driver's seat, and things have been going well. It was a good week. Quick reminder before we jump into it, we are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever it is you do. We really appreciate it. It really helps out the pod if you enjoy talking some Razorback hoops with us. But let's jump into it. Big win over Missouri. Arkansas absolutely needed it to get like another big win on their resume, with still a tough stretch, tough schedule down the stretch, even though the schedule lightens up a little bit from the top 10 teams they were playing before, right? But Missouri was a big enough game, like a good enough team, that it still bolstered the resume a decent little amount to grab that win, in conjunction with hopefully a few more wins down the stretch. But that was a big game that really, boosted what they needed to do to get into the tournament. Big Z bounced back in a big way, had another 20-point game, his third, I think, in the last five games. Uh, Hit a big three. It went 7 from 7 from the free throw line in that game. But both of the last two games have just been like all around efforts in terms of scoring, in terms of just the way the team is playing. I don't like, obviously you guys like Big Z are kind of standing out offensively, but I feel like everyone is bringing it every night lately. Like you can't have off nights from guys whenever you have such a limited rotation. And it's been fun to watch and see them all kind of come together, and they're all playing their role pretty well. Like we're still seeing some bad things, but they're all doing enough. They're bringing what they need to the table.
Yeah. And um, I think, Brandon, you and I were talking about it. So I had the delight of being able to go to both games this past week. Went with Matt to Mizzou and went with Brandon last night. And it was, like you said, Brandon, just really nice to see all of them playing well together, um, playing off each other. Even though they would like go on droughts or other teams would go on runs, like it wasn't detrimental to the team. Like they would rally together and they would push through. So really, really liking where we're at this point in the year, and that win last night against Texas is going to be such a huge resume booster due to the fact that we didn't have our two best players in Thero and Boogie. The fact that we did that with seven guys in an overtime game is just mind blowing, against a guy who dropped 40 on us. You could, I guess my biggest takeaway from that Texas game last night is you could, it was obvious, you could visibly tell that our guys were gassed in the second half. Um, Brazil looked just completely winded. Carter Knox was playing a little bit slower. Wagner at times was kind of dragging his feet a bit. But even though we're running guys 35 plus minutes a game in that game, they never gave up. They whenever you play 40 minutes and then you have 5 extra minutes of overtime to play, like it's hard to kind of get pumped up to go out there when you're already exhausted after playing 35 minutes in
And to give up
regulation.
the lead the way they did, right? Like they took a
Mm-hmm.
punch, right? Like they were up 14, 15 points, and for Texas to come all the way back to force overtime, like that's tough to turn back around and have the confidence even to go out in overtime and
Yeah.
and do what they did.
Yep, 100%. Well, I'm going to talk about the Missouri game because that's the one I had the delight of going to. And as you heard during the hog call, I couldn't woo very good because of how loud I was at that game. But that's just credit to how that the team played. I mean, we were playing out of our minds against especially withstanding the first half of bombardment that Missouri put up, I guess, because they were dropping threes contested. I mean, you can't ask for better defense on a lot of these threes, but way to withstand, guys, and just all out team win. Our free throw shooting, I can't say enough about it because it's good. It is like a complete 180 from I think what I was saying at the very beginning of the season of how we got to make free throws, got to make free throws. Even the last couple games, it was poor free throw shooting. But I mean, DJ Wagner 8 for 10, John L. Davis 5 for 6. You already said Big Z 7 for 7, Carter Knox 3 for 4, and then Thero, 50% at 3 for 6. But we're getting to the free throw line and we're hitting our shots, and that's a game changer. I mean, that really is what is going to win us games that are close like that.
Since Arkansas won their first SEC game, sorry, just jump in with a stat here. Since they won their first game against Georgia, I know they lost their next one to Oklahoma, but every game since then has been great. Like their only losses are to top 8 teams, right?
Mhm.
Since that game, they're shooting almost 74% as a team from the free throw line.
That's great.
That's phenomenal for a team that and is playing winded, like we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Shorthanded. That's a really good number.
And I mean, that's huge. I love that. But also, everybody's scoring. Everybody's scoring. I mean, there hasn't been a stat line unless last night somebody surprised me. No, that somebody hasn't had at least a point.
Mhm.
I get we're playing 8 guys, 7 yesterday. So everybody had to score at least once. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're getting guys the ball. Everybody's playing as a unit. It looks like good basketball. And where the droughts aren't as long as they used to be. Like, I think there was one pretty long one where we had like 18 points against Texas. I fell asleep the second half. You're welcome, Arkansas. And
51 second half points against Missouri.
yeah,
And well, I guess you were at that one, but a
yeah.
big overtime from Arkansas while Matt was asleep too. So
Yep. So, but I know there was a drought against Texas, and it lasted a little longer than I'm used to here recently. But I'm happy to see that we're not sitting there and letting people hound on us for 8 minutes without even getting a bucket. Not even a
And
free throw.
and a couple things that I do want to point out about the Texas game is that was arguably one of our best 3-point shooting games all season.
Oh,
We
100%.
shot the ball extremely well. That's very promising. Just considering how terribly we've shot it the rest of the year. Um, Trevin Brazil played very well, especially in the first half. I think he ended with 14 and 8. Um, really happy with how he played. But I even so thinking of the second half of that Texas game, I feel like I'm a broken record complaining about the calls, how we're not getting called even. Um, but even in our droughts where Texas was coming back, we still we were trading baskets with them. So like yes, we were up by what was our biggest lead, Brandon? 16, 14.
14.
biggest lead against Texas was 14 midway through the second half. Yeah.
So even though it felt like it was just Texas hounding on us, we were making tough baskets. We were going back and forth with them. I 100% wish that we would have just buried them. But when you're playing a guy like Trey Johnson, that's not going to happen. I mean, what did you tell me last night, Brandon? He had all 13, 12 of their points in overtime.
Yeah, I
Like
don't remember exactly what.
that's
Yeah, here I've got it right here.
It's nuts.
Yeah, he went in overtime. Went uh, 5 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from three. So he had all. What is that? 3, 6, 10 points for them. Yeah, in overtime
so so like
or 12.
even though like they were kind of chipping away at the lead, I'm in past games, we would have been saying Arkansas is not scoring. We're not doing anything for 8 minutes at a time, for 6, 7 minutes at a time. And even with them, like slowly chipping away, like they're hitting a three, we're hitting a two. At least we're trading baskets and we're staying competitive in those tight moments. It's not like we're crumbling. We're staying strong. It's really good to see compared to what we saw last year. Whenever something wouldn't go our way, we would just kind of hang our heads and give up, and that is not the case at all with this team.
That's
Yeah,
100% right.
I think that one point Texas went on, it was fast though. It was like a quick 6-0 run that they hit, or maybe I think 7-0 run. But that was the only time, like you said, that most of the time it was just kind of creeping back, and then they had just one spurt that got them all the way back into the game, and then being able to answer, right? Like that defines a team, is finding a way to get punched and then keep, punch back, like respond to it and not lay down. You're exactly right from that. Um, to Matt's point earlier too about people scoring. I mean, both of the last two games, all five starters in double digits scoring the ball. And I think that that is a big reason why we're seeing less of like the droughts, because I feel like there's more options. Like we're not so reliant on one guy. Early on it was Boogie, right? We were talking about how a lot of our possessions ended with him trying to make something happen. Even for a few games, it became Big Z. We're like, if we're in a shooting slump or a stretch like that where we're not scoring, we would try to force it to him. And if he's not hitting, then we're just going to be in a slump. But now we've got like Carter Knox against Texas had some big like takes to the rim whenever they were, late in the game when they were scoring, and finishing strong at the rim, finally showing like what the film has always shown about Carter Knox. Like he's always been capable. It was just, we've been talking about it for a few weeks that he's kind of coming into his own, but we're still seeing more of the full repertoire, seeing him get to the rim and do these things in traffic. Him being able to do that, DJ Wagner hitting a few shots. Nelly's been playing well. He's not been super efficient, but he's averaging like, I think it was like 15 points a game over his last 9 games. 14 points
And
against Texas, 18, and then 14 against Auburn. Yeah.
and real quick, I just want to say I'm taking credit again for something that happened in the Mizzou game, and Matt can vouch for me. I told him on our drive over there, I said I don't know if it's this Cal documentary that we've been watching this documentary on Vice. I don't know if it was just me riding a high of that Kentucky episode that came out, but I told him, I said I think Nelly's going to have a kind of breakout game tonight against Mizzou. And he came out first 3 minutes of the game, had 3 steals, ended with like 18 points. It was a great game. So you're welcome.
Yeah, thing is, I think he dropped a three from the flipping logo first shot. I was like, that's when I lost my voice. That, or it was the Carter Knox dunk, or maybe the Brazil lob. Let me just name all of them real quick. But I mean, yeah, John L. Davis
Nelly,
was going
Nelly
crazy.
did it again
Crazy.
with great confidence against Texas. It wasn't the first shot, but like I think Brazil hit a three,
gosh.
and then maybe like the next play or maybe one possession later, he hit a deep transition pull-up three. So I mean, that's the kind of confidence that he's got to play with. Even though he's, I said he's averaging over 15 points a game, it's still on like just under 40% from the field. Like the efficiency is not always there, but he's got to play with that confidence at this point because he's got to keep scoring. We got to keep having those options of scorers.
Yeah.
And a name we haven't even mentioned, Jonas Adu had a huge game against Texas last night. He hit some big buckets in the post, like really like what it was one of those things where it's like we need a bucket, and he was the guy that we went to. Like that, we just gave it to him in the paint, and he did work. And honestly, I was the most impressed with him the entire season last night.
And going 2 for 2 from the free throw line after being like sub 50% on the season in SEC play. That is massive from a senior leader.
And another stat, I mean, since we're listing stats at this point, that one block that he had was amazing.
Monster.
I
mean,
mean,
he got him going.
It was huge. Not only was that it could have been a big momentum shift for Texas, but it shifted the momentum back to us again because he stuffed this dude at the rim. I mean, it was great. I loved seeing it. So, yeah. I mean, all around, you can't be mad at this team whatsoever. You could say like, oh, they shouldn't have blown the lead. there's 7 guys on the floor. I mean, give them a
They got
break.
tired.
Yeah, and that's normal. I mean, that's
Well,
normal.
we've all talked about, is this Cal's best coaching job if we make it into the tournament this year?
I
I
mean, to
mean,
do what he's done to start 0-5 in SEC play while he's trying to figure things out, to lose a lottery pick, and then turn it around the way that this team has, and then win a game last night without your second best player, who's been, your best player still. I mean, there are arguments to be made. He's got
yeah,
a ring on his finger,
Mm-hmm.
but just this stretch of basketball over the last 5 weeks or so, it's hard to argue against
yeah.
the job that he has done.
I mean, since the national championship, I haven't seen a Cal coach team that has done something like this personally.
He's
I
he's
mean,
fully rejuvenated.
yeah, he if he's looks 10 years younger because of Arkansas and Tyson chicken nuggets. So, I mean, it's great. I love seeing his passion. I don't feel, maybe it's because I hated him at Kentucky very easily, but I haven't seen him coach with that type of passion in a long time.
Yeah, I
I
mean, he's
His
mean,
getting mad when people are just missing free throws. He's running
yeah,
the sets, like he's on people, and I mean, he's coaching his ass off, man.
yeah,
well,
It's fun to
he's got
watch.
a chip on his shoulder. He's got something
Yeah.
to prove, and he's
hmm
going to prove it.
yeah.
It's really impressive.
He's a Hall of Famer for a reason, and he's definitely showing that he's still got the juice. So thank you,
Yeah.
Cal, for reviving my Arkansas spirit.
Yeah, I think that he will get them into the tournament this year, but I mean, talking about this stuff, like I still think, I mean, even if he's only here for, 4 years, 5 years, I still think this is probably going to be the worst team that he puts on the court here, which is crazy because they've been playing incredible for 5 weeks now. So, it just gets me excited for next year and then the year after that. And, we've heard it for years from Kentucky fans about, well, he brings the talent, but what else can he do? He's doing it right now.
Mhm.
And it gets me excited to see what else he
And
can do as he gets
and
more
he's
talent.
doing it without the talent. Like
Yeah, exactly.
we missed our two best players last night.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Yeah, I think it's a fair question to ask if this is truly the best, at least the best stretch of his coaching career. Because I
Hmm.
mean, the season started a little
Agreed.
rocky, but yeah.
I'm gonna get on a quick little soapbox here. All right, I saw some things on Twitter. All right, first of all, Kentucky won a game last night. Ooh, congratulations! But somebody said that's a game Cal would have lost, and then he went and he just won a game with 7 guys in overtime against Texas, which I get Texas is like same level as us right now, but 7 dudes and withstood a guy scoring near 40, 39 points. That's amazing. That's a game Cal would have lost. So screw you, Kentucky fans. But also, there's another thing that really bothered me, and it was at the end of the game. Somebody said Arkansas may have won that game, but the story of tonight is Trey Johnson. Heck no, it ain't. They lost. The story of the night is Arkansas. So I don't want to hear it. I get he did great. All credit to Trey Johnson, but you have to give credit to a team of guys that just played 40 minutes, some of them, and won. I mean, the favorite
Trey,
part about going to a game in person is not having to listen to some of these announcers, but that made me really mad. I'm done.
well, Trey probably had the one of the best collegiate offensive performances that I have ever seen. I will say that, but it does not take away what Arkansas just did with 7 guys.
No,
Absolutely.
no.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like I said, all credit to him. Like that was the best performance since KD. Is that right for Texas at
Yeah, he
least?
broke he broke the freshman scoring record. He
Yeah,
surpassed KD. Yeah.
that's insane. I mean, all
Yeah.
credit to
And
him. But Arkansas beat you and swept
And
you.
he deserves some props. I mean, he went 50% from the field, 7-11 from three, had a big game, but he's now 0-2 against the Hogs in his
Exactly.
career. And that's, and I do agree, like I don't think Arkansas got enough credit for what they really did last night.
No.
And it's because Texas was a bubble team. They were probably expected to lose in Bud Walton Arena, but the way that Arkansas took the punches, rallied the troops, next man up mentality, and pulled out that win. I agree they do not get enough credit for what they just accomplished because of it's being overshadowed a little bit by Trey Johnson,
Yeah.
which is, it is what it is.
We should be
Just get into
above
the
them in the
tournament.
net.
I don't care what anybody else is talking about.
I don't know how the net didn't move whatsoever, being Texas 39, us 40. It's ridiculous. I don't understand the net, though. So,
Yeah.
I'm
They
going to be
they
honest with
weight
you.
things so weirdly. Like winning at home is almost weighted the same as losing on the road if you're playing a good team. And
Yeah.
I just there needs to be a little bit of a tweak there.
Yeah.
So whatever. Well, thankfully the net is not a huge factor in the selection committee. It's something to look at. It's a data point, but I think the Hogs have done well enough and have put themselves on the right trajectory now to their last three games. I think one more win is probably enough, but I think they could win all three, honestly. But I definitely think they can win two of these next three games. But we're gonna get into a couple of those matchups coming up. First, starting with South Carolina on the road, a very winnable game, one Arkansas needs to win. But first, we're going to take a quick break for some ads, and we will be right back.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot, the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider the level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
All right, so Arkansas hits the road, 2-game road trip. First against South Carolina on Saturday, second game against Vanderbilt, middle of the week. And this game, we'll talk about it maybe more later, but can we talk about that? This is on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. What the hell are we doing on the East Coast? Matt's gonna be asleep before warm-ups start. I mean,
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm going to have to crank out some caffeine, I guess. Try to watch at least a little bit of it.
Well, don't
We'll
watch
call you
too
if something crazy
much.
I
happens.
know. I always go to sleep when the thing starts getting rough. It's just a ritual at this point.
But starting with South Carolina, they're now 1-13 in SEC play. The only team they've beaten was this Texas team that Arkansas just beat, which had me a little concerned about the game that we played last night because I felt like Texas was probably embarrassed by that loss coming off of their last game losing to South Carolina. But, you know, Hogs took care of business against Texas. But I think that just that win kind of shows that even the worst team in this conference on any given night could pull it off against, whoever. They took Mississippi State to overtime earlier in the year. They beat Clemson earlier in the year, who's playing some of their best basketball right now. They're probably a top 10 team easily right now. That I'm looking at for my brackets coming up. But it's just a game that you cannot take lightly because of their record is my point of that. Like any team on any given night can do it, can knock you off. So I think that the guys understand what's at stake. Like they've been playing like they know their lives are on the line, like their tournament lives are on the line. I think Cal has them in line, like they understand. Um, Big wins against Missouri and Texas, always kind of like when you have wins like that and it's high emotion, especially like an overtime game, I always get a little worried about what happens the next game, especially when it's a team that you think you should beat. I mean, it's just human nature. The mental aspect of it is like it's going to be too easy for them to come out and sleepwalk and not take this seriously. It's going to take effort and focus for them to not do that. And so beyond anything that South Carolina does well, beyond what they're doing, how they're playing, that is more what I'm worried about than anything. Is Arkansas not riding the high of two big wins, of putting themselves in a really good position for the tournament and coming out flat against South Carolina? Because I think this is like if you lose this game, I think you have to win the next two because this is going to be one of the worst losses on your schedule if you lose at South Carolina.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you win this game, well, the last two kind of, up in the air. I don't know, losing both matters that much, but if you go into the last two games of Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, where you feel like you're securely on the bubble and all you need is to beat one of those teams to like get past the first four, that's exactly where you want to be. You have to win this game at South Carolina, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it really worries me. This game worries me more than any other game because South Carolina has nothing to lose. I
Yeah,
mean, they get beat by 40, whatever. Their
it's
season's been
dangerous.
done. But they can ruin our chances. They could. They really could. They could
And
ruin our
that's what a lot
chances.
of teams play for at this
And
point.
yeah, especially like that. And they're going to come out and they're going to try to punch you in the mouth. And like Brandon said, it's right after two big wins, and I would not, I would say I would get hopes up that Thero's going to be back. I don't know if anything more news has
Yeah,
come out on that,
we
but a
we need to talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, a hyperextended knee, no damage, I think it said, no damage done.
No, yeah,
It
no surgery.
it's still going to be sprained and you're looking at 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be it.
I would be shocked if he was back for this game. I think most likely scenario is that he tries to come back for the first SEC tournament game.
Yeah.
You maybe he pushes like if things don't go well, maybe he pushes to try to play against Mississippi State. Maybe it goes the other way and he just tries to hope we get to the NCAA tournament and he comes back. But I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because it is like when it first happened, there was concern that he was done, right? Like it was a real concern that it may have been like caused damage and that there was surgery on the table. Best case scenario that there was not and that he is better than expected, but it's still going to be a little bit
Yeah.
before I think even if he does like if he does come back a little early, he's not going to be Thero, right? Like a
Right.
knee on a player that relies so much on that kind of athleticism, it's not going to be the same type of player for at least a couple of games.
Right. And we're talking, so when you hyperextend the knee, it sprains, right? So there's technically going to be still ligament damage in some sort of way, but it's 2 weeks just to probably get you back on the floor. Not even counting the days or weeks of practice that you need to get back into the game. So, I mean, best case scenario, I don't want him rushing because I want to make a run in March. You know, I want him to be healthy for March. So I don't
Yeah.
need him to rush back because I feel like we can beat South Carolina without him. And I mean, if we throw these last two against Vandy and Mississippi State, I still think we have enough on our resume to make it. And
I
then,
think you can. I think you can beat Mississippi State at home without him too. Vanderbilt's
yeah,
going to be tough, but Mississippi State in Bud Walton Arena, I think.
and
And you talk about being 2 weeks, just for reference. Um, Mississippi State Saturday, March 8th will be exactly 2 weeks to the day from when it happened. So
yeah,
that's kind of a timetable of what we're talking about.
yeah. So I would really like to see him just as fully healthy as he can possibly be. I think our guys have shown that they're tough enough to win some of these games with seven guys. They're going to
That
be gassed, but I think they can.
that's the thing though, man. I'm worried about these last games because fatigue is going to play in. We saw it playing against Missouri. We saw it playing against Texas. If I mean, best case scenario, it like perfect case scenario. Theo comes back this next game. We're still running on 8 guys, 7 of them just playing 45 minutes, and Big Z's already nursing his back. Like there's potential for him playing 10, 15 minutes. We rely on 6 guys. Like that's not we talked about it midway through the season. That's not sustainable.
Mhm.
Like I am very, very concerned about how long heart can only take you so far. I hate to say it, because I love this group of guys. I love how much pride they play with. They play for the name on the front of the jersey. But if if you're tired, that puts you at more risk for injuries. That
That's true.
it's just I'm
Yeah. And
concerned about these last few games just because I know we only have 7 guys, at its best.
Hit
Yeah, and
those ice paths.
Carter Knox coming into this game was like 50-50. I truthfully, if no one else is hurt, like if Boogie and Thero are both play against Texas, I don't think Carter Knox probably would have played. I think that's where he's at too. And Z's holding his back all game long. So I mean that's a
Mm-hmm.
good call out. But one name that I just kind of threw out too that we haven't talked about a lot, Boogie's getting close to his timetable for when he could come back from his injury. And we've talked about what this team looks like trying to inject Boogie back in. I don't know, I don't know what capacity you can do it comfortably and not ruin the dynamic that's going on. But you have to balance that with what we're talking about right now and the fact that we have 7 guys available. And if you get someone else that is healthy, how do you not play him,
You
right? Like,
have
how do
to.
you not try to inject him just for minutes, right? Like, even if he truly becomes a backup guard and you start Wagner and Nelly at the one and the two, and Boogie just relieves one of them at a time or whatever, and you never play all 3 of them together. Maybe that's best case scenario. Boogie gets 16 minutes, 15 minutes, and he's just the backup guard. Like that still helps a lot just from a load management standpoint with these guys trying to come down the stretch. And that there is no definitive timetable for Boogie returning, but it does sound like he is aiming for that. Like he's not just cutting his losses and focusing on the draft. Like he's trying to get back as soon as he can. He's not going to rush anything and put his career at risk, but his goal, from my understanding, is to get back on the court and try to play if possible. It may
I
not work. There's always setbacks. I don't know what his timetable is, but that sounds like his goal right now.
I kind of expect, which I don't know where he's at with the recovery process and everything. I expect it to kind of depend on this next game and how these last 3 games play out. I could see him coming back for the SEC tournament and kind of getting the feel for the game, depending on if we see that there's the chance for the NCAA tournament. If there's like if we lose out and there's no shot at us making the tournament or a very little shot, I don't see him coming back to play in the SEC. I think the SEC will be like his warm up to get back in the game, so he can be present for the NCAA tournament.
And I'll one up you on that. I think it has to be the SEC tournament that he comes back.
Yeah,
I don't think you can just inject him into March Madness into
no
the lineup.
way.
You can't
That's a
do
good
that.
point.
So I
Not
think
after
it's
the
either
yeah.
SEC tournament or shut him down. And that being said, don't as Arkansas fans, you don't do what that you did to Nick Smith. This is not him not wanting to play, you
He
know.
played 2 games
It,
with a broken
I
thumb. Like
know
he
it.
tried to come
I
through.
know it. And I don't
and
want to hear
hold on. And Nick Smith wasn't a not wanting to play situation either.
no,
He
no, it
came
wasn't.
back.
Yeah.
I was saying Hog
People think
fans,
that.
yeah, people
Yeah.
think that.
Yeah, and it's
It's
ridiculous. That
ridiculous.
is so stupid.
It's a disappointment to be a Hog fan when people talk like that. And
Yes.
so give this kid grace, first of all, because he's not going to come back and be the Boogie Fland that dropped however many against Kansas in that exhibition. He's going to take time. And I think, like I was saying, get off the soapbox. SEC tournament has to be uh, the go ahead for him. If it's not, I understand him sitting out. There's no reason to go back in the biggest time of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we'll
Agreed
update
now.
as if we hear anything else about his timetable coming back, if we're able to get anything on that. But like I said, from my understanding, he's trying to come back. He's not shut himself down for the year. Um, one more thing before we leave you guys, talking about the NCAA tournament, talking about this team getting in and making it. At this point, given how everything has gone to get to this point, is making it to the NCAA tournament enough for you this year? Do you feel like getting in even just to the first round is a success given how things have gone to this point?
1,000,000%. I don't even have to second guess that. If you were to ask me 10 games ago, I would have said there's no shot at us making the tournament. I'm with the trajectory of how this season went and how Cal stepped into this team with one returning player. Um, the I just feel like that's a massive win based on how we first started the season, especially in SEC play.
Yep. I agree. I mean, you can't going 0 for 5 starting conference and then coming back and making the tournament. That's huge. That's good enough for me. Of course, I'll take another win in the tournament. I'll take a few wins in the tournament. But yeah, 100%. As a basketball fan, as a Razorback fan, you have to love and respect that ability to make it to the tournament. So yeah, that's good enough.
I've always been a big proponent of trying not to put too much weight on tournament wins specifically, because once you get there, like there's a reason they call it madness. Anything can happen at any point in the tournament. The best you can do is put yourself in the best position possible with seeding. That boat has already sailed for us a little bit, right? Like if we win out these last 3 games, we could be having a discussion about moving up to the 9 seed or something like that rather than sneaking in at the 11. But I always say, like, even like you have to take into consideration if a coach has been to the tournament a lot of years and never has the success, like there comes a point where they have to have some tournament success. But coaches losing in the tournament, like it's a lot of luck. It's a lot of matchups. It's a lot about injuries. I mean, there's so much that goes into it that I feel like one game, it's so hard to determine, like one loss. I mean, it's so hard to just call that a disappointment for any season. I'm not talking even this season specifically. And even like it's hard for Arkansas fans to talk about it, but they got some breaks during the runs that Musselman went on. Like those teams
Mhm.
earned their spots, especially the first two. They put themselves in a great position with seeding. That is exactly what I'm talking about. You put yourself in a good spot and see what happens. And they had some things go their way. Or like they won those games and did a great job doing it, but they had lower seeds than they expected to face in later rounds. Like they had some good breaks go their way when they played Gonzaga. Chet Holmgren fouls out early in the game, and it opened that window, and they capitalized. Right, they had to still win the game. I'm not saying that it was all luck or they didn't deserve it, but in the tournament, anything can happen and things go crazy. And during those runs, Arkansas definitely had some things go right for them, which is what you just have to hope for in the tournament. So I say all that to say that I'm always a big proponent of not putting too much weight on one individual tournament. It's good to look at it as a body of work, tournament wins, success, that kind of stuff, but it's called madness for a reason.
Yep.
So yes, getting there is enough for me this year too, and just see what happens. Put yourself in the best position you can at this point, and we see how this team plays, you know they're not going to go in and lay down in the
Yeah.
in the world's biggest stage of college basketball. So
And we'll be one terrifying 11 seed.
nobody wants to see us. Yeah,
No,
that's
not a
100%
single
true.
team, especially if we get Thero and Boogie back. Then watch out.
Start getting dangerous. All right, that is all we have for you guys today. Huge week for Arkansas. 3 big games coming up. Got to win one. Love to win two. I think they're capable of winning all 3. I'm excited to see how this team finishes the season. Hopefully, we can get some guys healthy. We're just gonna have to wait and see, I guess. We appreciate you tuning in to talk some Razorback basketball with us. We are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts at. Please be sure to like, retweet, share, subscribe, comment, review, whatever you want to do. It really helps us out. Share the podcast with your friends, your other Razorback friends. I've been your host, Brandon Baker, joined by Joey Jackson and Matt